Am I good looking enough to work for Battery?
We can find you an open position here if you're looking.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
There is a huge talent pool here that is always looking for innovating around hard problems and finding good solutions for them and distributing them across the globe. From a certain scale, you need to stop being a startup and have governance in place to build a good public company. And that's a transition that is hard to make.
Welcome to another episode of Israel Tech. I'm excited to be here with Barak Schoster Goiman, the partner of Battery Ventures here in Tel Aviv. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming over.
So the first thing I want to jump into is actually Battery Ventures is a huge name. People know them globally. Maybe you could tell us first a little bit about Battery and specifically what you guys do in Israel and how is that different from everywhere else?
The thing that you need to remember is that Battery is a great fund. That's like a short.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in.
The fund exists for 40 years. We have 6 offices around the globe and we act as a global fund, helping companies to do their journey from 1 million to 1 billion in revenues. And we've been lucky to do it a few times. And we are here to find the best startups in Israel and bring them to the global market.
What is a global fund as opposed to just a fund? Is it just that means you're operating in many countries, or is it beyond that? Is it like the difference between multinational and international?
So I think that I'll answer it in 2 ways. One, most of Israeli companies are global first. Most of the market is the US market or the European market, and that's where we're selling software to as entrepreneurs. We as a global fund has a global network of advisors, potential hires, potential prospects, and we try to help with those networks to facilitate the right go-to-market motion for those companies. Does that answer?
Yeah, I think that answers it. So what do you guys do differently here than your other offices?
We are the team that looks the best out of the 6 offices.
Okay, so you're the best looking team.
We're the best looking team. I'm just kidding. Everybody in Battery...
I've been telling people that because that's been saying.
Everybody in Battery is super smart, super generous, and fun to work with. We're not that different because we have a very high bar of having super smart, beautiful people working for Battery.
Am I good looking enough to work for Battery?
We can find you an open position here if you're looking.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
So the way that it's different is a lot of the things when you're making an investment, it's truly not just a transaction. It's about the relationship that you have. And it's easier to develop a strong relationship with someone who's about to be your partner after an investment and your board member and your colleague for the next 10 to 14 years or after. When you have in-person relationship, and it's easier to do it when you have boots on the ground. That's the goal of this office.
Right. So, and no different than any other global VC that's here, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we're nicer and better looking. But really, the goal is the same, to use the entrepreneurship and the creativity that we have here locally in Israel and distribute it across the globe.
So what does that look like? I mean, you help, you invest in, or we'll get more into the process and all that. But when you bring it globally, find an Israeli startup, you decide to invest in it, and then you bring that, you say, to the world or globally. That is it just kind of bringing them, it's just you help them go to market globally? Or do you actually help them, do you leverage the rest of the Battery network and the other startups or enterprises? You help connect them? Do you integrate them into the other companies? How does that, can you speak to that? Because I would assume you might have Battery being the size that it is, it probably may have unique opportunities that even other large ones, but not as large, are able to provide to their startups here in Israel.
Yeah, so as a former entrepreneur in a Battery portfolio company, I can tell you that there is a vast network that as a founder you can utilize from the Battery team. There is a lot of what we call institutional knowledge, which is operating partners that can share their experience with you as a founder. So we have I founded a company. We have also other founders like Max, who've been the CEO and president of MongoDB, which is a large public company and the database company here, and Emon Vani, who've been the CMO of Palo Alto Networks, which is a large cybersecurity company. Harish, who've been the CRO at Outreach. Bill Binch, who've been the CRO at Pendo and Marketo. So a lot of people with a lot of experiences on building great companies on different go-to-market roles. And you also have strong investors who've been doing that for the past 30 years, taking companies in that journey. So when you're thinking long-term and you want to take your company through that journey, you really want that knowledge and that network. Those people have sold software across the globe. They know the right people that you need to hire to your go-to-market organization, the next sales hire that you need. And to even coach them. If you're hiring someone that is outside of the network and you want an advice, and it's hard, it's like a roller coaster to build the startup. You need someone who's been there that can walk with you through it, through that journey.
How much of that mentorship is done here or tapping into the global market, a global network of Battery? So maybe a company might have done something similar. They're not Israeli. Do you ever kind of like, hey, they had similar challenges you did 5 years ago, they overcame them. Do you provide mentorship cross companies?
Of course.
And when you choose to fund and partner with a company, is that explicitly stated and understood, whether in the culture or otherwise, that if and as you succeed and grow and new startups come that we work with in the future, we are expecting you to give time and a hand and energy and a network to help them too? Is that also like is that part of the culture? Is that understood?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a mandatory thing to help other colleagues in other portfolio companies. I think that it is expected. It's a hard journey. It's a hard toll that you're going to take on yourself as a founder. And what you're looking for in a partner is someone that to be there with you and to work for you at some capacity. It's not an easy task. So I think about it more as like karma. Like do good things and good things will happen. And that's the culture here. We're trying to help each other on every opportunity that we have, and that's how we elevate each other's network on building.
Yeah, what I love about entrepreneurs is all entrepreneurs that have succeeded in any capacity are always looking for people that they can help. It's it's something about the personality of the entrepreneur themselves.
It is. At the end of the day, a lot of people are busy on having time with their family, kids, building a great company. So we don't want to bother them every day on mentorship. That's not their role. Their role is like to found the next big company. But whenever it is required, we're facilitating the right introduction and we're trying to help our portfolio companies.
So Battery has a large diversity of different kinds of companies, portfolio companies that you guys work with. Is there a specific niche that they look for when they open up the Israeli office?
Not really. I think that there are some stuff that Israelis have exceeded the expectations of the public markets in the past.
Okay.
We're great, obviously, in creating cybersecurity value on different successful companies. Developer tools is another one, but also business applications. Some of the great companies in Israel that Battery have backed in the past are either on the business application domain, like Gong is a good example, Sisense, the BI company, JFrog, the developer tool company, Bridgecrew was my company located here in Israel, and also Light Cyber and Cyvera, who've been acquired by Palo Alto Networks. So we were lucky to find the right trends in the right time in different great companies.
That's cool. And but you had that in mind. So how much are you focusing on cybersecurity and you're focusing on DevOps too? Like where's the strength? And then my other question is do you personally focus on certain companies because of your experience yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so just to complete the previous question, there is a full list of Israeli portfolio companies. I'm sure that I forgot some. So you can see it in the website. And there is also great semiconductor companies like Habana, Excite, etc. And my focus is try to find the best companies without any restriction. There are some trends that I believe that I have a bit more know-how, but there are also other partners in the fund that knows a lot about consumer, that knows about vertical SaaS, business application, fintech, etc. Where I spend most of my time is what we call enterprise infrastructure, which is data, cybersecurity, developer tools, DevOps, and AI. And AI is kind of a vertical play these days.
Yeah, and AI is a vertical play. I find that AI isn't really a vertical, rather it's like AI as an application of certain verticals. That's how I'm kind of seeing things. Is that how you guys discuss it internally, or do you give it its own category?
Yeah, so we try to categorize it as below the application stack and above, and I'll explain what it means. Below the application stack means that you're an app builder. And you need a specific tooling to build an algorithm. Specific tooling for testing, deploying, securing an AI application. And that's one category of companies, the infrastructure companies. The second category is above the stack. And that would be a vertical play. It can be healthcare-related application, sales-related application like Gong and others.
While your time here, you were promoted from venture partner to partner. Do they just do that for your ego, or is there a difference?
It's really about being a full-time position for the long term on supporting companies in the fund.
So it's the promotion to a partner is more to let the portfolio companies know that they have a partner more for the long term.
More or less, yeah.
How does that change things? Does your contract change with Battery for a longer period of time, or how does that play out?
It doesn't really change the contract. It's me about stating that I'm here for the long term, and the fund is stating the same.
Got it. Terrific. Okay, so we can expect Battery to be here for a while. And how many partners are here?
We are 3 partners located here in Israel.
Who are the other 2?
Scott Tobin, who's a senior partner in the fund, he opened the Israeli office at 2008. And Shiran Shalev, who've been with us for the past 10 years.
Amazing. And so when you guys opened the fund, why did Battery choose to open a fund in Israel?
I think it's obvious there is a huge talent pool here that is always looking for innovating around hard problems and finding good solutions for them and distributing them across the globe. And amazing companies have done that the late 90s. Akamai was actually one of them and was one of the first investments of Battery here in Israel, who is the company that essentially built the internet, the CDN, like all of the pictures are hosted there, and most of the internet traffic are either on Akamai or Cloudflare servers. So a lot of great things from medicine to internet to collaboration to productivity was created here on that ground and distributed across the globe.
Where do you think, as someone who's active here in the tech industry and speaking to so many startups, where do you think is our greatest opportunity for improvement?
I think the things that we are really good at is adapting to the customer needs. We're listening and we're adapting the solution. And it can take you up to a certain scale. From a certain scale, you need to stop being a startup and have governance in place to build a good public company. And that's a transition that is hard to make, to get into both the escape velocity on the go-to-market and to have the right processes in place. And I think that's where an institutional fund can bring some of the knowledge to build a big, great company.
And it's when you speak to your partners abroad in Battery, actually, how often do you speak to you and you collaborate and speak to your team that's not in Israel?
Every day.
And what do you guys usually talk about?
Everything.
The weather?
The weather, in some cases, the kids, like problems that life partners are talking about. But we do talk about global trends and what we see here on the local ground and what we see on one of our 6 other offices. So we talk quite a lot and we collaborate. In some cases, I might pull a partner from abroad to help me in a due diligence or to support an existing portfolio company based on his or her past experience.
Like, can you give me an example when you would bring them in to help, based on their experience, to help a portfolio company here on the ground?
Of course. So for example, Max Sherenson was the CEO of MongoDB, which is a developer-oriented company selling databases. So he has vast experience on developing and go-to-market there. And I'll bring him over whenever I'm talking with a data-related company. I have different experience on cybersecurity tools and cloud and DevOps. And I might go on a conversation with a company that is based in Europe or US and not necessarily have any Israeli connection, just because I can share from my knowledge on selling software and building a company in that space. So we do collaborate quite a lot and we put each other into the conversation when there is a requirement for that.
So can you walk us through kind of, is a day in the life here? Is it more or less the same kind of handful of responsibilities, maybe speaking to the team abroad, helping meeting the companies here in person, doing some due diligence to see where to invest, how you can help support them and help maybe companies abroad based on your experience? Is it the same thing every day, like a little bit different, everything falls within that? Or are there kind of just some more, or is there more than that you're doing?
Yes.
Got it. So that was basically it. How often do you go to events?
Quite often. Just to answer your previous question, I'm a very curious person.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoy learning new stuff and developing new relationships. That's how we got to know each other.
That's right.
So the beautiful thing about this role is that you get to meet so many great entrepreneurs that have an energy to build new stuff. And it means that every day is substantially different from the previous one.
Uh-huh.
And it goes from meeting a company, giving a strategy suggestion, going through financials and plans for the future of the company and help them hire the next executives. And it makes every day really different. And also it means that you need to have relationships with big corporates who might be the customers if you're selling B2B software, or to analytics experts if you're on a B2C marketplace application. So every day is truly different and you get to learn about a lot of new stuff.
So do you specifically try to push, Battery, also you specifically, startups and companies that are looking for clients and enterprises? Do you make those connections to enterprises, try to get their foot in the door?
Yeah, in some cases I do. In some cases the company does not need my help and they're very good without me.
Uh-huh.
But where I can support them and make the right.
Can you give an example? Like what was it? Or can you give an example how you help like a startup and get them in the door to earn a large enterprise client?
Of course. So we maintain each one from their own network and the global networks of Battery as a fund. We maintain relationships with executives and decision makers and the individual contributors in various companies. And we are trying to facilitate the introductions through different events. So we have the Open Cloud events. We do sponsor some events on cybersecurity summits like RSA Conference or Black Hat. And that's an opportunity both for founders to share experiences for each other or for founders to meet potential prospects. We're the introduction facilitator. At the end of the day, it's on the founders or the go-to-market team to make sure that it's the right partnership and collaboration between them and a potential customer.
When you're looking to invest in an Israeli tech company, what are you looking for other than, of course, people that are easy to work with, generally good work ethic, good collaboration between co-founders? Is there any specific data or is there anything unique to the culture of Battery or maybe you specifically that you may look for or emphasize more than other VCs?
I think that the most important thing is the team. So it's team, and then the other stuff.
Right.
On early stage, it has more weight than on later stages. And I focus a lot of my time on the early stages of a company building.
Right.
When you have companies that are raising their A, B, C, or D round, or later on, you have some other leading indicators, from amount of customers to revenue to upsell motion to customer satisfaction, which is also called the NPS score. So we're trying to have both financial data, which is quantitative, and qualitative information about the company and the team.
There's a lot of data that happens in VCs, of course, and in the startup world, but you're also doing a lot of data over in the Army. What kind of data were you doing at the Army, and is there any crossover?
So I was lucky to establish the largest HDFS cluster and the first one in the IDF.
Do you want to explain what that is for people that might not be a data nerd?
Yeah, so I think it was at the early 2012. HDFS became a thing. HDFS is the Hadoop file system, which is a distributed file system to handle large chunks of data. That's kind of before the cloud really came up as the thing for large enterprises. And obviously, the IDF has a lot of sensors distributed and a lot of data that is collected to get operational decisions. And we were one of the first ones to deploy a cluster that can support that and have the right analytics, AI, and machine learning in place to support decision-making processes.
What does that mean to someone who doesn't understand data? Is that just like, obviously, I understand you're collecting data, you're packaging it into making decisions.
Yeah, so if I have...
So it's no different really than even in business in a sense when you want data. We might, even like as a marketer, if you're looking for marketing data, you get from different social media and from search and ads and organic and maybe events and whatever you can. And there's a lot of data you're not going to be able to collect, unfortunately. You try to organize it, make sense of it, and make decisions. It's no different.
It's pretty similar. You're a decision maker in a company. You have structured data in databases, and you have unstructured data in documents that you collect.
Right.
And if you want to have a precise, correct business decision, you need to have a system of record that will allow you to do that.
Were you always interested in data? Just I'm saying, as a boy, I like numbers specifically, but like I was obsessed with like baseball data and statistics when I was like, since I was like 6. You know, I was wondering if maybe is that something you also maybe had as a young boy, and so when you became age of the army that you were able to utilize it.
So it makes the both of us nerds, right?
Wait, whoa. I'm just kidding. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, I started programming on a very early age, and I found myself getting in love with anything that is related to computer science in general. And that's how I found my place in the data world, in the idea.
The closest thing I had to computer science was Nintendo. So I don't know if that counts for anything. So after the army, you were there for how long?
5 years.
So you stayed, actually you extended your stay, so to speak. What changed when you decided to stay on longer than you were obligated? How do your responsibilities change?
So I had a very talented team of 21 engineers working on that project. I felt lucky actually working with that group. So I extended my stay, and I was lucky to build some interesting projects.
So why'd you leave?
I really want
the luck ran out?
I really wanted to taste how it looks like to work outside of the IDF. And I was lucky to join a startup named FortScale and met some interesting people there, which were later on my co-founders in my startup. So
isn't that fascinating? So that's one of the themes when the conversations we're having in the tech ecosystem, that a lot of people that maybe first they met in the army and then they stopped talking and then they founded a company together. In your case, you worked at one company and then later you go found a company and you bring a former coworker and colleague. It's very unique in that sense, is that everyone kind of knows each other. That's what makes the ecosystem unique. Do you want to tell us about the company that you founded?
Yeah, and to give more comment about what you've just mentioned, when you work together shoulder to shoulder, either in the IDF or another company, you have a trust established, and you know where you can complete each other.
Right.
And you know that you have some skills that are missing, and someone else can complete that when you're founding a company. So I was lucky to co-found the company together with Idan Tendler and Guy Eisenkot, named Bridgecrew. Idan Tendler was the CEO, Guy was the VP of product, and I was the CTO. It was a fascinating journey of a bottom-up, open source, product-led growth of those buzzwords company, facilitating a security solution for DevOps engineers.
I swear to God, that was the most buzzwords I heard in one sentence.
We tried to keep it on point. I would say that the terms DevSecOps, shift left, PLG, and open source were not that popular back then.
Back then they weren't. Now it's like how they age. I wonder what do you think are going to be the new buzzwords in a decade from now? What terms are we using today that's going to be buzzwords?
Probably AI.
AI already now, but yeah, if you said that a year ago, that would have been true. I love it. I think you'll hear more about machine learning and things like that. There already is, but you're getting more of that. So Bridgecrew you founded, right? When was that?
It was 2019.
And what did you go out to solve? What was the issue? What was the problem that you saw that you're like, oh, we can uniquely solve this?
Cloud security is a huge problem, and there is a lot of misconfigurations happening in the cloud. That's the area that...
Why is cloud security a huge problem? I know this because of all the clients. I've worked with so many companies. Why is it such a big problem? And why does it seem like something that will not be solved, so to speak, or can only be... There's indefinite mitigation you can do to try to solve it. Why is that?
That's a great question. That's what we asked ourselves where we co-founded that startup. And there is an issue in the cloud which is called the shared responsibility model, and it is about who is responsible on securing the infrastructure, the cloud provider or the customer. And within the customer, there is two personas, the cybersecurity officer department and the engineering department, and they're kind of like tossing tickets across each other's wall on fixing issues. And that's where we played. We tried to facilitate and democratize the issues that cybersecurity department has with DevOps department. And we created a tool that DevOps can consume. So it's kind of a consumer play. DevOps is consuming open source projects. Some of them are Jenkins, Ansible, and Terraform. And we decided that we want to be on the same kind of shelf of products. So we copied and took inspiration from the same go-to-market. And we created an open source tool named Chekhov that is facilitating cybersecurity for the DevOps practitioners.
Why open source?
So I think that specific audience, DevOps, is used to start with free stuff. And it's kind of like...
Especially in Israel.
Across the globe. Kubernetes is free, Terraform is free, Ansible is free.
Right.
And some of them have an enterprise license that comes with support or extra features. So we followed other giants that have done that successful motion in the past. JFrog is another portfolio company who had a similar motion. And also database companies are kind of open source by design. So if you want to facilitate something to developers, in a lot of cases, it might go through an open source go-to-market. And that's where we exceeded our own expectations, to be honest.
So at Bridgecrew, how much did you raise?
18 point something.
Sounds very Jewish. And walk me through the first time you raised money with that. What was that like? Like, oh, shit, we succeeded. At least someone's buying in and putting real money into this thing. What's that like?
Yeah, I think that an investment is not the success yet.
But it's
definitely a milestone. I think and it's an exciting one. And we were lucky to be backed by great investors, Battery included, and NFX, Sorensen, Draper Nexus, Secret Chord, and I'm probably forgetting some of the great people now because I'm excited to be near you.
I do this to everybody.
I know.
I shouldn't be interviewing.
So a lot of great investors that have supported us through that journey. And you have some feeling of success to be backed by successful other funds. But the real success that you feel is when you employ the first employee, and then you get the first customer, and then you convince other people in your vision, and you build a great company. And obviously, it became a great outcome when Palo Alto Networks have acquired us, and it became even a greater business after the acquisition and the merger within Palo Alto Networks.
Amazing. So how did that merger come across? I'm assuming they were a customer, and then they're like, oh, this shit's great. Oh, we could probably use this for our clients. Or how exactly that come about?
Yeah, I think that Bridgecrew had a unique footprint across the globe using the open source go-to-market. And we had some joint customers between Palo Alto Networks and Bridgecrew. And we were a natural addition to a suite of tools named Prisma Cloud, doing vast majority of issues around cloud security. We were focusing on the DevOps side, where the runtime side was covered by Prisma. So they heard about us, we kind of started the conversation, and it was a good match. And
they heard about you, like, I'm curious, it's like, how does that work actually internally? They're like, hey, this product's great. I mean, the people doing has nothing to do with their M&A department or their, like, how does that information spread internally, or you wouldn't know, I guess?
Yeah, so generally speaking, and not necessarily commenting on Palo Alto Networks, every software corporate has an option to either build the solution by themselves or buy. And there is a matrix of questions that you need to ask yourself as an executive in a corporate when you're making that decision. How long would it take me? Do I have the right skills or the right persons in the team that can make that leap and have that know-how? And in some cases, or most cases, it's software. You can always build anything. And when you want to accelerate that process, you might want to be a bit more aggressive in the market and have a decision of acquiring a startup to make the shortcut to get there.
As someone who is now involved in the investment side, obviously I'm asking you a question in hindsight. What is it like? Like, in hindsight, what advice would you have given yourself as a founder when you were looking to raise money or get acquired?
I think that the main thing that I have and I would have had to myself is more empathy. It's
to who?
To myself and to my colleagues and to my employees and partners. And the main reason for that is I didn't understand think that the beautiful thing about founding a startup is that you don't really understand how hard it's going to be on the first day.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's like parenting or marriage or everything or life.
And I think that ignorance can be a bliss.
Uh-huh.
And I think that the most important thing to have in a partner is to have the right empathy. And there is a lot of tactical decisions around go-to-market that I think today I have more experience in doing than I had back then. And also in fundraising, I can have more tactical recommendations that I would have given myself that I didn't know how to do back then.
Mm-hmm. And so on the other side of that, I mean, now that you're an investor, not just like, what information did you bring as a founder and as someone who's received money to, let's say, to the empathy of investment? How do you think your approach is different from those that are partners that have never started a tech company themselves, got funded, and successfully acquired?
Yeah, so I think that there are super talented people who've been past operators and super talented people who were professional investors for their entire career. I think that they're completing each other's in their skill set. I believe that some professional investors have seen more companies that I've been involved with. And we're lucky to sit on the front line and see that journey happening in amazing companies. And they can share their experience as a board members, as a governance committee, and have the financial expertise that knows how to do that. So that's the pros of having a professional financial investor in the board. And operators can have either market comments from their experience operating in a specific market segment, or company building related decisions that they've been part of in the past and can be used as reference. I think that a good board will have both kind of partners inside.
Interesting. How do those two partners work together? Is it kind of like the division of labor or the division of responsibilities or expertise?
I think that everybody are on the same side and want to build a great company and help it succeed. So the goal of a good board is to support the company wherever they need. When
you're out here and you're trying to source companies, maybe to potentially invest and partner in, do you have your team do research and maybe they give you a list of startups or founders, or how does it work? Is it companies? Is it that they're looking at or do other VCs feed you information or investors? Or do you just get a name of like people that recently had an exit of a startup and then you approach them thinking that they might want to start something, and do you think they're a good person to partner with? How do you decide, and how do opportunities come by you, and how do you proactively go pursue them?
So all of the above is the general answer to that question. I think that at the end of the day, as a former founder, you want to partner with people that you have good relationship with. And it kind of comes through a reference from another founder in the network. And at the end of the day, we're a service provider.
Right.
And a good investor is facilitating the right service in prospect introductions, advisor introduction, and additional financing when it is required. So we just try to be the best service providers out there, and we hope that people that are enjoying our service are spreading the word.
Just like that. And why you guys? How are you guys different?
Because we give the best service.
There you go. Well, that's why I started my marketing company. I thought I can provide better service for long sales cycles. You need long service, long-term strategy. And Israelis generally are a little too impatient for that. Do Israelis ever get skeptical of the good service?
I think that I love to judge myself
It's a great line.
by actually delivering a good service,
right.
Which can be customer introductions, advisors, hiring, etc. And I do have that itch as a founder of asking myself, am I doing good enough work?
Are you?
For my startups? I hope I do. And otherwise, I'm having like really hard time to go to sleep that I haven't done enough.
Yeah.
So I think that's the drive, and it's kind of a cultural thing here at Battery, doing our best to help each other as partners and our portfolio companies who are part of a big family.
When you speak to that big family abroad in Battery, what do you think is the biggest misconception that they have about the Israeli culture?
I think that people do not acknowledge how tasty the food is here. So
really?
Yeah, you need to like.
We have great food. They don't know acknowledge that?
You need to make sure that they have like an opportunity to visit and try that.
Okay.
For that, there is like a myth around that.
Well, we're working on Israel Tech Tours. So if you ever want to bring them here, we can do a tour, and we're working with private chefs for people to learn about the Israeli tech ecosystem. So maybe that's something we can do sometime.
Sounds like a great idea.
Speaking of food, you were talking about you're quite the meat dude. Tell us about how you cook in water.
Yeah, so I'm really into sous vide cooking.
Sous vide. Can you say it a little bit more French?
So it's cooking in water tank.
So you're boiling. It's like borscht for me.
It's not like borscht. It's not a big soup. But if you're really into like same temperature made meat, it's really the perfect way to eat that.
So why is it why such an advocate?
Why am I such an advocate of sweet? You need to come over to my house.
I was waiting for actually. Interview is wrapped up. Thank you.
Come on over, taste it, and then you'll be an advocate too.
I'm sure I would be. I hear good things. My brother's a chef, so he's played with this. So basically, you heat up the water at a certain temperature, the minimum temperature for cooking, basically.
Yeah, you can put a lamb for 14 hours, come right after, and have the perfect lamb to eat the day after.
Amazing. Lovely. Okay, fine. Do you bring your food here ever to serve, or
no? But I'm happy to host.
There you go. Well, you live in Ramat Chayal, so it's gonna be tough. That's why you offer it. We'll make future plans to come to your house and have some meat. But this is a forced segue. What are the future plans of Battery?
I think that
like that. Was that good?
It was great. Our goal is to find the best companies here and help them grow. So if you guys are building a company around developer tools, enterprise infrastructure, fintech, consumer, business application, really any domain that you think that we can be supportive of, so reach out over LinkedIn to one of the Battery team members here in Israel, and we'll try to help. There
you go. Well, there's the pitch. So if they want to know how, they can reach out via LinkedIn, and we'll also put all of the links down in the description. Barak, thank you for being on Israel Tech.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.